You've restarted your life 6 times this year. New system, new app, new morning routine, new version of yourself that was finally going to be different. And every single time within a few weeks, sometimes a few days, you watched it collapse. Not dramatically, quietly, the alarm gets snoozed. The journal stays closed. The gym bag sits by the door untouched. And the part that eats at you isn't the failure itself. It's the feeling that you don't understand why. Because you wanted it. You genuinely wanted it. And somehow that still wasn't enough. Here's what nobody told you. The problem was never your desire. It was never your motivation, your willpower, or your character. The problem is structural. You've been building discipline on a foundation that cannot hold weight, and every collapse you've experienced wasn't a failure of effort. It was an engineering failure. There are 7 specific signs that your foundation is sand, not stone, and once you see them, you'll understand why everything kept falling apart and exactly what to build instead. If this is the kind of thinking that actually makes your own mind make sense to you, stay subscribed. This channel doesn't hand you slogans. It hands you the blueprint your psychology never came with. The story you've been told about discipline is almost entirely wrong. You've been told that discipline is about forcing yourself to do hard things even when you don't want to. That it's a muscle you flex through gritted teeth and sheer determination. And this framing has caused more damage than almost any other idea in self-improvement, because it positions discipline as a war against yourself. You on one side, your resistance on the other, and the winner is whoever holds out longer. But that's not how any of this works. What you call discipline, what actually shows up as consistent action across weeks and months and years, isn't the result of a stronger will. It's the result of a better built system underneath the behavior. People who appear disciplined don't spend their days fighting themselves harder than you do. They've built something beneath the surface that makes the behavior feel less like a battle and more like gravity. The foundation carries the weight. And when the foundation is wrong, no amount of willpower can compensate. You're not undisciplined. You're underbuilt. Think of it this way. Imagine 2 people each trying to carry water from a well to their home every single day without fail. One person carries the water in their hands. Every morning they cup their palms, walk carefully, lose half the water to the ground, and arrive exhausted with barely enough to drink. They blame themselves for not holding their hands tighter. The other person spent a single afternoon building a pipe. Now the water just arrives, same water, same distance. Completely different experience. The first person doesn't have a motivation problem. They have an infrastructure problem. And that's exactly what's happening inside your nervous system when discipline keeps failing. The neuroscience behind this is precise. Your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for planning, impulse control, and long-term decision-making, operates on a limited energy budget. Researchers at the University of Toronto, building on Roy Baumeister's early work on ego depletion and its later refinements, have shown that when you rely on conscious, effortful override for every single decision, you deplete that budget fast. By midday, you're running on fumes. By evening, the system shuts down and whatever default behavior your basal ganglia has stored, scrolling, snacking, avoiding, takes over automatically. This isn't weakness, it's resource management. Your brain is doing exactly what it was designed to do. conserve energy by defaulting to the path of least resistance. The people who sustain behavior change aren't overriding their defaults more aggressively. They've changed the defaults. They've moved behavior out of the prefrontal cortex and into the basal ganglia, which is where habits live, where automatic routines are stored, where actions happen without deliberation. This is the real foundation, not willpower, not motivation, automaticity. And here's where the architecture either holds or crumbles, because there are 7 very specific ways people accidentally build on sand instead of stone, and almost everyone is doing at least 3 of them right now. The first sign is that your discipline depends on how you feel when you wake up. If the first thing that determines whether you follow through today is your emotional state at 6 in the morning, your entire system is built on the most unstable variable in human experience. Mood is not a foundation. It's weather. Research from Lisa Feldman Barrett's work on constructed emotion shows that your brain generates feelings based on predictions, not facts. You don't feel unmotivated because something is actually wrong. Your brain is running a prediction loop based on sleep quality, blood sugar, ambient stress, and 1,000 other inputs you didn't choose. Building discipline on top of that is building on sand. You need a trigger that exists outside your emotional state, a time, a location, a preceding action, something that doesn't care how you feel. The second sign is that you set goals but never designed environments. You decided you'd read every night, but the book is in another room, and your phone is on your pillow. You decided you'd eat better, but your kitchen is still arranged to make the worst option the easiest one. This isn't a detail. This is the entire game. Research from Wendy Wood's lab at the University of Southern California has shown repeatedly that roughly 43% of daily behavior is performed in the same physical context each time. Your environment isn't influencing your choices. In many cases, it is making them for you. If you haven't deliberately restructured the physical spaces where your behavior happens, you haven't started building discipline. You've just written a wish list. The third sign is that you're trying to change everything at once. New diet, new workout, new sleep schedule, new journaling habit, new screen time limits, all launched on the same Monday morning. This feels like commitment. It's actually sabotage. Each new behavior requires prefrontal energy to initiate and maintain until it becomes automatic. Stack 5 or 6 of them simultaneously, and you've overwhelmed the only part of your brain that can manage the transition. Research on habit formation from Philippa Lally's work at University College London showed that a single new behavior takes an average of 66 days to become automatic, not 7, not 21, 66, and that's for one behavior in isolation. You were trying to install 6 at once and wondering why the whole system crashed by Wednesday. The fourth sign is that your identity still belongs to the old version of you. You're doing new behaviors but thinking old thoughts. You go to the gym, but you still think of yourself as someone who doesn't really work out. You write in the morning, but you still call yourself lazy to your friends. This mismatch is not cosmetic, it's structural. Research from identity-based habit formation, advanced by James Clear building on earlier work from Daryl Bem's self-perception theory, shows that behavior that conflicts with self-concept creates cognitive dissonance, and your brain resolves dissonance by reverting to whichever pattern matches the identity it believes is true. If you still see yourself as someone who quits, you will quit. Not because you're weak, but because your brain treats identity as a command, and it will bring your actions into alignment with that command, no matter what your schedule says. The fifth sign is that you've mistaken intensity for consistency. You don't do something for 30 minutes. You do it for 3 hours. You don't ease into a program. You go maximal on day 1, and it feels incredible for about 72 hours. Then you're sore, exhausted, behind on everything else, and the whole thing collapses. Intensity is not discipline. It's a burst. It's the neurological equivalent of a sugar spike, a massive dopamine release from novelty and effort that crashes just as hard as it climbed. Consistency is the opposite. It's boring. It's underwhelming on any given day. And it's the only thing that actually rewires neural pathways into durable patterns. The sixth sign is that you have no system for failure. Your plan works perfectly as long as nothing goes wrong. But the moment you miss a day, eat the wrong thing, sleep through the alarm, the whole thing feels ruined and you abandon it. This is called the abstinence violation effect, first described by Alan Marlett in addiction research, but applicable to any behavior change. It's the psychological pattern where a single lapse is interpreted as total failure, which then triggers complete abandonment. Your brain goes from, I missed one day, to, I'm the kind of person who can't do this, in seconds. If your system doesn't have a built-in protocol for what happens after you fail, your system was never real. It was a fantasy that required perfection to function, and nothing that requires perfection survives contact with an actual human life. The seventh sign is perhaps the most important, and it's the one almost nobody talks about. Your discipline is pointed at outcomes you don't actually want. Not outcomes you think you should want. Not outcomes that look good on paper. Outcomes that your nervous system, your actual felt sense of what matters, genuinely cares about. Neuroscientist Antonio Damasio's somatic marker hypothesis shows that decision-making and sustained motivation are inseparable from emotional signaling in the body. If a goal doesn't produce a felt resonance, if it's purely cognitive, purely strategic, purely about what you think a better version of yourself would want, your brain will not sustain effort toward it. It can't. The wiring isn't there. You've been calling yourself lazy when the truth is you were obedient to the wrong blueprint. Seneca wrote something almost 2,000 years ago that cuts through every productivity system ever designed. It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a great deal of it. He wasn't talking about time management. He was talking about misdirection, about spending your limited energy building toward things that were never yours to begin with. The science confirms what he already knew. You don't need more time. You don't need more discipline. You need to stop building on sand. Now, look at where you actually are. Not where you tell people you are, not the version you perform. Where you actually are tonight, sitting with this. There are 2 traps, and you're probably in one of them right now. The first trap is the loop of perpetual restart. You keep beginning, new system every few weeks. Each restart feels like progress because it carries the energy of novelty. Your brain gives you a dopamine hit just for planning, just for imagining the future version of yourself that this new system will create. But planning is not building, and the restart cycle itself becomes the habit. You become someone who is always about to change, always on the verge, never actually in motion long enough for anything to take root. From the inside, this feels like effort, like you're trying harder than everyone around you. but it functions as avoidance. Because starting over means you never have to confront the uncomfortable middle, the boring stretch where nothing feels exciting, and the only thing carrying you forward is the foundation you built, which you didn't build. So you restart instead. The second trap is quieter. It's to collapse into resignation. You've tried enough times that you've started to believe the story. Maybe you're just not the kind of person who can sustain things. Maybe some people are built for discipline and you aren't. This feels like honesty, like maturity even, like you've finally stopped lying to yourself. But it's not truth. It's a defense mechanism. Your brain would rather accept a stable negative identity than endure the uncertainty of trying again without a guaranteed outcome. Resignation feels like peace. It functions as a cage. The path between these two traps is narrow but real. It doesn't ask you to restart with more intensity. It doesn't ask you to accept less of yourself. It asks you to build one thing, tonight, and to build it right. Here's the move. Tonight, before you sleep, you're going to choose one behavior. One. Not the most impressive one. Not the one that would look best if someone were watching. The one that, when you imagine doing it tomorrow morning, produces the smallest internal resistance. Maybe it's 2 minutes of stretching. Maybe it's writing one sentence. Maybe it's putting your phone in another room before you get into bed. It has to be so small that the idea of not doing it feels almost embarrassing. Then you're going to attach it to something you already do every single day without thinking. Brushing your teeth, turning off your alarm, pouring your coffee. This is called habit stacking, and the research from B.J. Fogg's behavior design work at Stanford confirms it. You anchor the new behavior to an existing automatic routine, and the existing routine becomes the trigger. You are not relying on motivation. You are not relying on memory. You are borrowing the infrastructure your brain already built for something else and attaching one small new thing to it. You do this for 14 days. Not 66, 14. That's your only job. You don't add a second behavior. You don't scale it up. You don't optimize it. You just protect it. And if you miss a day, you do not restart. You do not rewrite the plan. You do not journal about what went wrong. You just do it the next day. The streak doesn't matter. The repetition does. Every single time you perform that small action after its anchor, you are laying one more brick in a foundation that is not made of feeling. It's made of wiring. And wiring holds. This is what discipline actually looks like when it's built right. It doesn't feel heroic. It doesn't feel transformative. It feels almost too simple. And that's exactly how you know it's real. Because everything you built before that felt big and exciting, every system that started with a rush of motivation and a new app and a color-coded spreadsheet, those were made of sand. You already know how those ended. You're not lazy. You were never lazy. You were building with the wrong materials on the wrong ground and blaming yourself when the structure fell. That's not a character flaw. That's an engineering error. And engineering errors have engineering solutions. You don't need a new version of yourself. You need a single brick placed deliberately in the right spot, repeated until it holds without your hands on it. That's not where discipline starts to get easier. That's where discipline stops being discipline at all. It just becomes the way you move.